Palestine. Meanwhile, some of us have been labeled international criminals, a designation used before the West assassinates those who opposed its agenda.
They can say what? In 2000, when people were dying, George Bush gave money and he assisted. Some of us, we don't forget the persons. We have gratitude. I want to say, not everybody hates America. We don't hate America. And not everybody here is saying America should go to hell. Some of us are saying, stop listening to racists giving you wrong information, but let's get together, let us talk, let President Ramaphosa sit with President Trump in a room, and they worked out a deal. Illegal foreigners must be banned from all our hospitals, starting from today.
America. Deputy Speaker, Trump and the USA are not demonstrating strength. The USA is merely displaying an advanced stage of capitalism, which is imperialism. Trump engages in transactional and manipulative relationships with the world like it is his backyard. The hostility towards South Africa does not come from fraudulent boers spreading disinformation, but from America's imperial.
Because PEPFAR has been removed. Because PEPFAR has been removed, there's now 17% of the money is gone. I want to ask the president of this country, can we immediately stop to give illegal foreigners any medical help? They should be banned from all our hospitals. They must go to their countries who has a good relationship with America. And I want to say to them,
Trump's remarks, the US froze foreign aid globally under the pretext of assessing alignment with the policy outlook. For South Africa, this meant PEPFAR funding of HIV/AIDS response was under threat. On 26 February 2025, the freeze became permanent, terminating funding indefinitely. The US aggression towards South Africa is nothing more than Israel's revenge for our moral stance in support of Palestine.
Let me make one thing abundantly clear. South Africa and the Umkhonto we Sizwe party and our party president Jacob Zuma are not America's enemy. Under President Zuma's presidency, America and South Africa enjoy good, stable trade and diplomatic relations. We seek trade, partnership and mutual prosperity. We are not anti-West, we are not anti-white, nor do we have hostility towards Europe, China, Russia, the Middle East or Latin America, because this country and MK is non-aligned. And we will stay non-aligned and we will put the interests of South Africa.
Our government must dismiss opportunistic African and racist groups exploiting US imperialism to fund their racist fantasies of an independent state. That will never happen. We will expropriate land without compensation, whether they like it or not. If they object, they can seek refuge in America. Deputy Speaker.
Internal healthcare services. Thousands of healthcare jobs, nurses, social workers and outreach teams face immediate termination, collapsing entire health infrastructures. But this cannot be blamed on America. This must be blamed completely on the shoulders of South Africa. South Africa should not have to hire people and use American funding to pay our healthcare workers. We must take the land back and must take the resources back and utilize it to free our people and get more people to help our people.
These same tactics are being used against South Africa. The growing calls by right-wing groups for foreign funding to establish independent states and to be armed by foreign interest must be recognized as part of a broader plan. This is the early stage of economic isolation, leading ultimately to military intervention. Next, AGOA will be terminated, escalating tensions between USA and South Africa. Our government must dismiss opportunistic African and racist groups exploiting US imperialism to fund their racist fantasies of an independent state. That will never happen. If anything, people want to blackmail us about aid and all sorts of things. But they know very well that there is no reason related to any wrongdoing by South Africa which has led to USA cutting its own aid. You can't say Donald Trump must be elected today and the following day he makes executive orders and then you come here and blame the South African government as if the South African government did not do anything in between. That was a predetermined outcome where he wanted.
Rule 84, the honorable member say he's calling us howlers. is calling the honorable members of this house howlers. That is unparliamentary, Deputy Speaker. Secondly, Deputy Speaker.
You are howlers.
Secondly,
It is obvious that President Donald Trump's order was based on the misinformation by the South African racist groups, namely AfriForum and Solidarity, who are the non-governmental wing of the Democratic Alliance and Freedom Front Plus. The DA has also recently completed a bogus working visit to the United States of America, and some members seated here today were part of that pseudo process.
Honorable Speaker and members, for 30 years, South Africa and America enjoyed sound bilateral relations. Whenever we had differences, we tackled them through constructive dialogue. Just as we value the strategic partnership with the US, so we do with countries from the global north. This is encapsulated under the pillar of North-South dialogue in our foreign policy. In short, it is about dialogue and partnership, not paternalism or imperialism. We place great value on our sovereignty, independence and autonomy, while committing to engagements with all states, including the United States. Honorable House Chair.
Which is imperialism. Trump engages in transactional and manipulative relationships with the world like it is his backyard. The hostility towards South Africa does not come from fraudulent boers spreading disinformation, but from America's imperialist agenda. The USA.
We have to distinguish between the people of America and the actions and the chaos that has been unleashed on the world and South Africa and Africa by a group of unregenerate racists who hate us for being Africans, who think they can abuse us.
Our government must dismiss opportunistic African and racist groups exploiting US imperialism to fund their racist fantasies of an independent state. That will never happen. We will expropriate land without compensation, whether they like it or not. If they object, they can seek refuge in America. Deputy Speaker, Trump and the USA are not demonstrating
reliant. Yes, Africa should learn to stand on its own feet and reduce their dependency on Western handouts. The ACDP also agrees with some Ugandan economists who view the freezing of foreign aid as a catalyst for exploring alternative revenue sources and reimagining the continent's economic trajectory.
Today, same tactics are being used against South Africa. The growing calls by right-wing groups for foreign funding to establish independent states and to be armed by foreign interests must be recognized as part of a broader plan. This is the early stage of economic isolation, leading ultimately to military intervention.
And it's not true that the AGOA thing is in the favor of big companies, etc. If AGOA goes wrong, it is ordinary workers in the agricultural sector, in the automobiles sector. It will be ordinary workers that will lose their jobs. We cannot and we should not have that kind of situation. The problem is that our relationship with the United States is not in a good place at the moment. And it's not true that it suddenly changed now that Mr. Trump became the President of the United States. That's not correct. Under the Biden administration already, there was an agreement, a bipartisan agreement, to have the total relationship between South Africa and the United States revalued. A bill was passed in the Congress.
Cuba, Libya, Venezuela, and Chile are examples of nations that have suffered from US interventions because of their socialist policies, justified by false intelligence to advance imperialism. Cuba has endured decades of sanctions for nationalization of strategic sectors of the economy, supporting African liberation and socialism, while Libya was destroyed because Gaddafi rejected US dominance. We raise these historical facts because history must guide us in everything.
We have a Minister of International Affairs. We have a President. The reason why you're not posting the pictures of your American stay, because you met the janitors, you met the people there at this gate. Show us who you met. So I want to say to South Africa, let's become, let's fix our relationship.
Parliament. We must plead with those who hold this notion not to recruit us into this delusion. And my advice to those with less experience would be that we have also been previously misled before by someone who trusted us with our parliamentary caucus to reject things to reject things for rejection's sake. And at times, we were also given dry and uninspiring speeches at the last minute.
PEPFAR, or the President's Emergency Program for AIDS Relief, was initiated by President George Bush Jr. in 2003 and has enjoyed broad bipartisan support in the US. That means it was supported by both the Republicans and the Democrats alike. Now,
the return of the Trump administration has emboldened these forces, allowing them to undermine our democracy and economic stability under the guise of foreign policy decisions. AfriForum and Solidarity have erred in their modus operandi. Their recourse cannot be railing one government over another. Their pursuit for recourse could have found expression in other legitimate international.
This House, the temporal sequence of events. As we all know, President Donald Trump resumed office on the 20th of January 2025 and immediately signed far-reaching executive orders to stop PEPFAR funding to the whole world. PEPFAR, or the President's Emergency Program for AIDS Relief, was initiated
to feel. So to South Africans, come here with a plan. Don't hi me here. You have medical aid. You have free medical aid. You have free state medical aid. You come here. Hi. I'm talking for the people with no medical aid. All the people in this tent have medical aid.
Treatment. Out of the 52 districts in our country, PEPFAR selected 27 high-burden districts to operate there, and these districts are found in only 8 provinces.
HIV/AIDS is going to kill our people. I am coming here today. If you hate America, that's fine. If you think this is about Donald Trump, that's even fine. But this is not about Donald Trump. This is about the 230,000 people that will be out of a job. This is about the people that will be dying. I'm not here. I don't care what you feel.
The trustees of Solidarity Fund, not the Solidarity that ran to Trump, but the Solidarity Fund established during COVID. I want to emphasize to you that there is no government or funder in the world that has put money aside waiting for Trump to explode. That's why we meet them, but none of them will say, I give you this much. Now, I believe then Trump doesn't owe us any cent. Trump doesn't owe South Africa any cent whatsoever. And for that reason,
the US froze foreign aid globally under the pretext of assessing alignment with the policy outlook. For South Africa, this meant PEPFAR funding of HIV/AIDS response was under threat. On 26 February 2025, the freeze became permanent, terminating funding indefinitely. The US aggression towards South Africa is nothing more than Israel's revenge for our moral stance in support of Palestine.
for that reason, Honorable Malema, I am challenging this House. Can we call a debate, to come and debate in this House? Why? All of us here, including all well-to-do South Africans who are on medical aid, why are we still getting heavy subsidies to stay on private medical aid? Is it fair? Should we be doing that during this difficult moment? In my language, the literal translation means during tough times, children of the same mother can survive by sharing a head of a locust.
I want to ask the president of this country, can we immediately stop to give illegal foreigners any medical help? They should be banned from all our hospitals. They must go to their countries who has a good relationship with America. And I
put it in Afrikaans to you. I know you and me don't know anything about Afrikaans, but I learned a little bit of it in Stutulwane. Mag ons voortgaan.
Honorable
Mag
Minister.
ons voortgaan. En hierdie self al dinge so sleg is. Dit moet nie 'n kwessie van wie die kragtig is nie. Dit moet 'n kwessie van as ons saam met die armes or praat ons net. Honorable Speaker,
Interest must be recognized as part of a broader plan. This is the early stage of economic isolation, leading ultimately to military intervention. Next, AGOA will be terminated, escalating tensions between USA and South Africa.
and all the well-to-do South Africans paid for by the state, should we keep on dragging heavy subsidies to stay on private medical aid? Or should we do something about it? This calls for a debate. I hope Action South Africa among the parties will support
Honourable
this call.
Minister, your time has
because
expired.
one of their members, Dr. Letlape, as the president of
Honourable
Health Professions
Minister,
Council,
your time has
used
expired.
to support this call. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister.
I said, if you want to be successful, look at your reality, not perception. America needs South Africa. South Africa needs America. If we don't work together, both of us shall lose. But South Africa shall lose more. America does not have doctors currently that's out of a job. We have medical students that don't have a job. Worse PEPFAR. Without PEPFAR, it shall be worse. People are going to die.
ARV acquisition. I want to make it clear to the House that our own government buys ARVs to the tune of 90% of all the needed ARVs. We buy them. The remaining 10% is paid for by Global Fund, which was also established 2 decades ago to fight HIV, AIDS, and malaria in the whole world. And coincidentally, our own Deputy Minister of Health, Dr. Joe Pasha, is a member of the International Board of this Global Fund. He was...
Things that we're going to talk about. The first one is mandatory minimum sentences. Increasing the minimum sentence for corruption involving transactions exceeding 500,000 to 15 years imprisonment. Mr. President, you know, maybe when you were the mayor and I was the mayor at the same time, 500,000 was a lot of money. But now people don't steal in millions, they steal in billions. And Alan Beasley, my colleague, is going to talk about how billions get wasted and stolen. So the very first thing, 500,000, 15 years imprisonment. That's the kind of example we want to see in South Africa.
It would be foolish to respond arrogantly to this suspension, while we decry the speed at which the withdrawal of US aid was made, creating an income and health crisis for thousands of South Africans. It nevertheless highlights the enormous debt of gratitude we should have for the aid we have received from the US.
Our government's choice will seal our fate, but whatever we do, we must not allow ourselves to be bullied, as President Ramaphosa said during SONA. With PEPFAR's 8 billion rands taken from our HIV/AIDS fight, UniAIDS estimates about 222,000 patients, including about 8,000 children under the age of 15 years old, who face disruptions in their daily antiretroviral supplies, therapy supplies. But let's not gloss over this. Quite a significant chunk of these resources, Mr. Minister, seem to have gone to administration in terms of instead of the tangible programmatic work.
For this current financial year, 2025, an amount of $439 million were budgeted, but that is now being suspended. My concern is there's a much bigger threat in terms of what's happening at the moment. PEPFAR is part of that, but it's a small part of that. The United States is the second largest trading partner of South Africa. It plays a very important and a very pivotal role in our economy in that sense. And at the moment, we do have the situation where the relationships between South Africa and the United States is not in a good place.